Okay. All right. So, okay, I got three quick questions. I'm wearing the earphones because something's wrong with the sound system that I can't put it on speaker and everything. Yeah, I got something back there and it fell back. Okay, you can see me. All right.
Yeah.
The first question is, who is the judge? I did this with my other lawyer. Try to find out who the judges are, how if they're a good temperament or whatever. So who's the judge?
I believe it is Judge Julie Poley. Let me double check. She's the person. She's the judge who's been in the HP part lately, but I want to confirm.
How do you spell the
They've been
name?
rotating around. So let me just.
And I like your braid, your ponytail like braid. It looks pretty. Yeah, go ahead.
It's too hot for anything else. Yes, it's Julie Poley. Poley.
P-O.
L as in lamb. EY.
Okay, and J-U.
LIE.
Okay. How is she? Win, lost, temperament?
It depends, I would say. So I
I
am
find
familiar with
men
her
judges a
from.
little more sympathetic than the women judges. They're sort of tough, but then I could be wrong. A woman judge voted for me to stay in here, and that was because she suffered. She was going to a funeral that day, and she actually wanted to make a decision. I didn't tell you this story, but she actually came in and she was reported. She said, "It's late now. I have to go to a funeral," and I think it was a relative. It could have been her mother. I don't know, but I told her I was sorry. She said, "That's fine, thank you." And so she wanted to make a decision then, but then she didn't want the other side to say she was basing her decision on emotion. I lost somebody, she's going to the funeral because she lost somebody, and they could use that for an appeal. That's why she held herself and said it was like a week before July 4th. She said, "I want a report on July 6th on my desk and everything, and then I'll make the final decision." Well, that happened. My lawyer said they don't have an answer, you'll be fine. Around July 10th, the decision was made that I could stay in my mother's apartment. She wanted to wait because she know them. They would have said, "Oh, she was running on emotion." She didn't want them to have any kind of way of refuting what her decision is and make me suffer even more. You know what I mean? And everything.
Mhm.
Yes, she was going to a funeral that day. She didn't look like herself. So, but otherwise, she was a judge that would tell you off in a minute. And she happened to like me, and she always complimented me about my scarf, the same scarf, and all of that. But when she wants to get tough, she does tell you to shut up and listen to what I'm saying and everything. So she was a fair judge for a female. She was a fair judge. Now, this lady, that was my story. This lady, I don't know, and everything. It could go either way. But the whole point of what I understand what you're saying is, and I was trying to review it, even though I wasn't feeling well. You said that the idea, the goal is to make NYCHA adhere to their own edict, their own rules and regulations, and not go starving in here like the cavalry while I'm still in here, or else 5 years of all of this would have been for nothing. Did you see the pictures I showed you about this floor and stuff? It's been going on for the past over 20 years. It didn't happen yesterday. And in other buildings, and speaking of other buildings, remember the building we talked about me going, um, my friend said it happens. They don't put a mop on the floor except when they want to, and when it's humid and the water absorbs on the concrete, you can see all the filth. And you're taking that back in the apartment, even if your apartment is clean, you're taking that in there. That's a health hazard in the building. It absorbs that wetness. It's like somebody kicked the bucket and put water all over. And it's not drying. It's not as bad as it was, but it's not drying as fast as it is because it's still hot. And then not only the concrete, but inside the wood and everything. It's been going on for over 20 years. And a lot of that caused my mother to have rheumatoid arthritis. It caused my mother to be even sicker. That's why Michael Ecology said, "You're going to get worse and you could die here." They told my mother that and everything. And then they say it's not good for me even though I'm younger. It's not good for me. It's not good for anybody. And
Right.
and, and, no, and they don't clean up and things. And people spit now. and that dries up and gets with the that wetness and the urine and all the other filth that's in here. It's been going on for a long time. It's not us that's causing the problem. It's them not maintaining the buildings like they should, and the water is not being absorbed, like it should, like drying out. They have to have some sort of system. The Josh Lew need to do something about it when they take over. And speaking of that, taking over, what I wanted to ask you is, my godmother said that the federal government brought back the project. So that means they're going to be ruling it, or is Josh still going to be ruling it? That's the question I'm asking you.
Well, I think this goes back to what we were talking about once the transfer happens. So
how much power will the federal government have over here? Like
Wavecrest is going to be responsible for the property. They're going to be responsible for management of the property. So, like, they would be the ones that you would go to if you needed repairs. They're the ones who you would be technically signing a lease with. They would be your landlord.
What about the federal?
Will still be involved.
What about federal? What they're going to do? They're going to be ruling too, or no?
So the federal government is sort of like one time removed. The federal government oversees NYCHA. NYCHA is the local branch of that administers the public housing program here. So the federal government, HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, is the one that makes rules and also gives all of the money to NYCHA in order for them to have public housing. That's not going to be the case anymore. What's going to be is
it's going to be that
PBV.
It's going to be that PBV. That's the project-based voucher. Once Wavecrest takes over. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So it's going to transfer to a situation where you're going to get a voucher from NYCHA. So they're going to still be the people that you recertify with every year. You're going to have to send them your information and do all that stuff still, but they're not going to be the ones who are managing the property itself.
Okay, so the federal government is not managing. They're not going to be managing. They got some sort of part in there if they bought it. But
yeah.
I know they want to stop them from putting other buildings inside of here, not build on top of it. I told her that it didn't sound right anyway, and we had this conversation. But you did say that they will try to find any space to try to get money from somewhere, like put it in a parking lot or a playground or something, and they can't do that because where's people going to walk and breathe?
Right. And I think that they've tried that a couple of times. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere.
Okay, and then the other thing is what to expect tomorrow. Are they going to have an affidavit from one of my neighbors saying that I'm causing a problem, especially the one about the living room and my kitchen sink? Are they going to badmouth me, like having people say that I'm a troublemaker even though I'm not? I want to know what to expect.
So we can't predict what they're going to say, but what I can tell you is what sort of the judge is going to be focused on. The judge is going to want to see what the violations are, so she's going to do a review of that violation report, and then she's going to want to hear what each side's position is on it. Obviously, our position is that this work needs to be done, and the only way for the work to be done is for you to be permanently relocated within the complex. And then NYCHA going to have their attorney, Marissa Shemi, is going to be there, and she's going to have a chance to say whatever their position is. It might be that she says that they've been trying to make these repairs, but you're not letting them in, or you're a problem, or whatever. But then I'll respond to that, to say that when we started all of this, they were denying that there was even mold in existence. So it has nothing to do with whether or not anybody's a problem. It's about them acknowledging that there is actually a problem in the first place.
And getting them to follow their own rules. If the apartments is such that if the person can't stay there while you make the repairs, they gotta go somewhere else. And then if that person wants to stay that somewhere else, you can always rent that apartment for whatever you want to, amount of money you want to rent it for, but it has to be fixed up.
Yep. And then the next part of it is going to be the judge is going to want to know whether we're willing to settle the case, like we talked about last time, which is would NYCHA do a written agreement with us in which they agree to relocate you? That if they say they'd be open to having that conversation, if that may be a reason for them to give us another court date, and then because the judge would want to give us time to have that conversation.
But
if
then
they
Josh
say,
Lou has to be in that conversation too, because I don't trust NYCHA, period. There's two things you need to know. I want a top floor apartment. The minimum is 30th floor. I'm not going to live on the second or third floor. I get to do that because I should have been moved a long time ago. I suffered, and you see the evidence there how I suffered. My mother suffered. I couldn't even mourn her death. All of this, and then my health problems. I get to choose where I'm going to go. I get to choose. And I told you something about that building, about the woman I met. And I know you heard the conversation. The woman I met helped her with a bag, and it was so eerie. It was at the place where I was born and raised at 187. You know, you have it on my birth certificate, the original one. But and things, and then I didn't look up that day, but it was a white woman. But that next time when I talked to my friend on Sunday, and this past Sunday, the 6th of June, he said it's still available in his building. But we both looked up, and I said, no freaking way. That third floor apartment is available. Now, the third floor apartment is where a West Indian woman lived at. She was there when my mother moved there. My mother was here since 1956, but she was in other parts of this project. She came to that 187 because of my brother. He had to have his own room. He was a teenager then. And he had to have his own room. She has to have hers. That's where the case in point, 2 bedrooms. And then this woman was already there and everything. And when my brother went off to Vietnam and all of that, then the room converted to a bedroom for me when I was a baby, and she brought me home as a baby. So anyway, and then she had to put that down on the lease, that a new addition, that would be me. And my brother was still in the military. But the thing is that she's been there a long time. I don't know what happened to her because I don't talk to these people because they always say something stupid, and I want to smack them one if I, like my mother. So that's why my mother said don't say anything to these people. So I don't know what happened to that woman and everything, but her apartment is available. He says it's a family apartment, but it's on the 3rd floor, right above where I was living at, born and raised. Now, that would be nice if I could go to the park, because I met a nice woman outside that said she was brought up in the neighborhood, but not Williamsburg and everything. And she said she hasn't been here that long, so I'm assuming she's paying higher rent and everything. But she seemed like a nice person, seemed like. And it would be nice to be in a building either with my friend or somebody that seems reasonable, you know what I mean? And everything. I would like to have that choice, and I would like to be given that while I'm still here, because I'm not going on the 2nd floor or the 1st floor where there's dog shit all over the place and the garbage, excuse my language. And that's it. I just wanted to tell you that story. But what about that judge? What is her temperament? I didn't give you a chance to answer.
So I think, my opinion is that she's very down to business. What she's going to want to know, she doesn't like people talking long-winded. She wants people to answer questions directly. She likes to know what is your position on this? What do we agree on? What do we not agree on? And then that allows her to know what she needs to do. For example, so like I was saying a second ago, if we don't agree to settle, right? If we're not willing to have that conversation, she's going to want to know that, because then she knows that she has to set this thing down for a hearing, or that she needs to issue a decision.
And what's the hearing? A stupid question. What's the hearing? I know what a hearing is, but what does that entail if we have to go? And I'm hoping we don't.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we don't have to do that either. But what it is it would be the opportunity for people to give testimony. So it would be an opportunity for you to speak, and I would be asking you questions. Essentially, we'd be establishing the ongoing conditions in the apartment. We'd have to talk about calling somebody in maybe from microecologies to testify. And then NYCHA would also have an opportunity to call witnesses as well, and it would all be virtual still, but we would be sort of laying things out for the judge more clearly. I honestly think that the likelihood of that is kind of low. It's certainly not going to happen tomorrow, but it is a possibility.
And but like I said, like those people over there, not my Spanish neighbor, she's gonna talk for me as much as she can on my right hand side. The left hand side is a problem, and I'd just like to know if they could have said, well, she's inconveniencing us by not allowing them in, and then they bothering us. You think that's a possibility that they may say that? I'm just trying to get my head around it, and I get my story together.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think so, but they could. So NYCHA could, if we got to a hearing, NYCHA could call your neighbors as witnesses to say, to help support whatever their version of the story is. But again, I think the judge is not going to really be interested in that because it's not relevant to the question of getting the repairs done.
And getting me out of here before the repairs are done.
Right.
Getting me out of here before the repairs are done. I want to get out of here.
Yeah, I understand that. We are on the same page on that. But I think that like the judge probably isn't going to have a lot of patience for that kind of thing.
She should.
Because it's not somebody who
it's like bad mouthing someone. It's like he said, she said, and the way you describe her, she's not for that.
Mm-mm. No, my only concern is that because she's very down to business, is that if she ignores our arguments about the fact that you need to be relocated, or she thinks that she doesn't have authorization to decide on that, she could issue an order that just it basically orders NYCHA to make the repairs in your apartment within the amount of time that they're mandated to do that. And if she does that, it's going to be really vague and not very helpful for us because then it's just going to put us back in a position where NYCHA is trying to come in and do repairs, and that's not the order that these things need to happen in.
Why is this happening? That's not good news. Because I was afraid you was going to say that about the and it leaves me in the bind like I'm not even human. Like you're going to come in and do it, and what's going to happen to me?
So I've already thought about this. If that happens, first of all, it's not going to happen tomorrow. But if it starts to look like that's going to happen, you and I can talk about what we think makes the most sense. What I'm thinking, because it's the one thing that we absolutely have control over, is we can withdraw the that HP case so that the judge doesn't have anything to make a decision on. And then we can rethink how we want to move forward to try and force NYCHA. Well, actually, we can continue to talk about having to force NYCHA, but then also continue to pursue talking to Wavecrest, who seem much more reasonable about all this, to try and get the move to happen without ending up in a position.
Because it's going to be an adversary. I'm going to tell you this right now. It's going to be an adversary because I'm not going to allow them. And I don't like to go against any kind of judge. That's not what I'm about. I try to follow the letter of the law, but it's time. You have to take a stand. And I'm not going into the Martin Luther King kind of thing. He went to jail for his principles. I'm hoping I don't have to go to jail, but I'm willing to go to jail. I'm willing, and my friends will watch out for my stuff, even a couple of them that's in this complex. I'm willing to take an adversary stand because nobody is coming in here while I'm in here, except over my dead body. And I hope that doesn't happen. I'm tired of this. This is not something I should have been left with. This is horrible and everything, and that's what I'm scared of. That's why my health condition is deteriorating, because I am scared about it, that you have but so much power, Miss Myers.
Yep.
Oh.
But I think we also have strategy, right? Like I said, I think if we think that we think the judge is going to issue an order like that, we can just pull the rug out from the whole thing and just withdraw the case.
You can actually pull that rug. Can you actually pull that rug? Can you actually do that?
Yeah, I think we can. Basically, if we say that we're withdrawing the petition, the judge technically isn't going to be able to issue an order. There is still potentially, obviously, now that there are violations that have been issued, there's still potentially going to be, I guess what my point is that I can't stop NYCHA from coming to your apartment, right? That's been true this entire time. But we can at least stop a situation where you're forced to be going against what a judge is saying. That we can do. We can stop that process from moving forward if we have to. I also think that we are probably not going to get to that spot, because I think that once we show the violations and we show NYCHA policy, it's going to be clear that you need to be relocated. And then
But
it's
the
just gonna be a
question is
matter of
where.
figuring
But
out
the question is where, because they really don't want me in here.
Right.
They don't want me in here because they need more rent. They don't want me in here because that would embolden other people to stand up against them, and they can't have that. They got to keep people scared. Why do you think they're having these derelicts and other people coming in here? That's what my friend said. That said their apartment is available on Sunday. They letting all these other people in here, and they're allowing people to sleep up there on the roof with their mattresses to make it uncomfortable for people to leave. If you stay here, that's emboldening other people to stand up, and they're not going to have it. They got to use you as an example. I said, here go that example word again. I don't want to be any goddamn example. I just want to be left alone. You know, I can't believe this is happening. I just want to open the door and that somebody else had that dream, and my mother's alive, and I'm fine. I can't believe this, Miss Maya. I can't believe this.
Well, as we keep coming back to, we have to take this one step at a time, and we have to hear what happens tomorrow. None of this stuff is going to be decided tomorrow.
Do I have to go tomorrow? I really don't feel good. Do I have to go? Do I have to go here?
You don't have to go to the court date tomorrow if you don't want to be there. That's my job.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm
I
not a
understand.
coward. I'm just tired.
It's been a lot.
Give me some good news or something.
Well, the good news is that you have a lawyer who's going to go and do this stuff for you and have these conversations. You do not have to go through the trauma of having to hear all of this stuff that's going to happen, and I will report back to you with everything that it is that that happens. And you know that we've been clear from day one that we know what the goal is here, we know what the objective is, and we know what you've been through.
I'm just tired.
I know.
I'm just tired. And then this hot weather is not doing me any good. And I usually can withstand it. But you got all the pictures. You got the last thing I showed you, right? The stamp of the rent going out on Saturday. Okay.
Yep. And that's not even going to come up tomorrow.
No, I just want you to have it in case they say, oh, she don't pay. She don't do that. I certify it. Yep. And I sent it. It's just that it would have been out sooner, but I told you last week I wasn't feeling good anyway. So I got out of here Saturday, had an unpleasant encounter, but I dealt with it and everything, and it's done. But oh yeah, the medical. Okay, you said that if it comes up, they're not going to try to get a subpoena with all my medical records because it's none of their business. We're not talking about my medical history. We're talking about you doing repairs here. So all that's is not going to occur by the other side, right?
Right. No, they're not going to. There's no reason for them to be able to get any access. What it might be is that a judge may want to see more, like we talked about before. Like we already have a letter. They may ask for something more or something like that, in which case we'll have a conversation, and that would be between you and me to talk. Or actually, it's really for you and me to talk about it, and then for you to talk about it with your doctors. Because I don't need to be talking to your doctors. The same way that no one else needs to be talking to your doctors.
They try, but I know people try to use anything to try to discredit the other person, knowing that the people they are defending are wrong. But their job, and they're getting paid a lot of money, is to keep them from having to correct that wrong. And so if they can make you look bad and make you like there's something wrong with you, that's the whole idea. To make you something, because if I was a lawyer, I would do that. Try to find anything I can stick to try to protect my client, even though I know they're guilty, to keep and make the other person look bad. Right? Wrong?
I mean, that's part of the job, I think, in a lot of ways. It's possible that all sorts of things could happen. And I also appreciate that, like, you don't have to listen to that or be exposed to that. You've been through enough. And I'm
sorry I cried. I just tired today.
I'm sorry. You do not owe me any apologies.
But it's going to look like I'm a coward, too, like I'm hiding something if I don't go. I don't know.
Not necessarily. No, I think a lot of times, particularly now that everything is virtual, a lot of times it's just the lawyers who are there, and then until there comes a point where the clients like you and NYCHA or someone a representative from NYCHA need to be there. Oftentimes it's just the lawyers talking with the judge. So I don't think there's going to be any problem if you do not want to show up, or if you want to show up and not turn your video on. And keep yourself on mute just so you get to listen to it. That's fine. Whatever you want to do, you do not need to be there.
Okay.
And I will obviously report back with whatever it is that happens.
I think I better not go tomorrow. But I'll be dressed and on the ready though. It's not like I'm not going to be. I'm going to be like this. I'm going to dress better because I'm going to have my ponytail out and everything. I'm going to be dressed, but then I'll wait to see what you going to say. But I'm just going to when we get off this phone, this conversation, I'm going to go and rest and everything. I'm going to go rest and not think about it until tomorrow morning early and what I'm going to do and everything.
You can obviously text me with however you're feeling, but I will expect that you're not going to be there.
But I'll be on the ready just in case.
Okay. Yeah. We've talked a lot. I feel like I've got a really good sense of where we are. Like I'll know the answers for most of the things the judge may ask. And I also know that like if I don't know an answer or if I'm feeling like we need to talk about that I can say that to the judge and I can get more time for us to be able to work through some stuff.
Okay, what I wanted to ask you is, did you talk to your colleague? Because last week was like a holiday and then everybody was running around like a head with a chicken with his head cut off. Did you get a chance?
So I've talked to my colleague, but I haven't talked to the person at Wave Press yet. We haven't scheduled that appointment to actually connect with each other.
I think that's going to be important. I think that's going to be important.
I think it's extremely important. I think it's a major priority, other than obviously going in front of the judge. But I think the most important thing is getting that conversation going. So I am working on it, but unfortunately it hasn't been scheduled yet.
Okay.
But it's not for lack of trying.
Okay. All right. Unless it's asked about that medical report and everything about that letter and everything, then how are you going to present it without the judge say, well, is there? Because I know the judge is going to say, well, is there any medical issues? I know that's what she's going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think
how it's going to be framed.
What I would say, the way that we talked about it last time, which is I intend to say that you have medical conditions that make it unsafe for you to be in the apartment while the repairs are being done. And I don't plan on saying anything more than that. If they say they want more than that, then I will say I need to discuss that with my client.
Okay. You're going to show them the letter just yet. You want to see where the conversation is going and the atmosphere, so to speak, lack of a better word,
exactly.
Atmosphere. And everything, and but if the other side will say, well, what is she hiding? If she really is sick, why is she hiding? And I know you're going to have an answer for her.
Like, you're not hiding.
Mm-hmm. But they may say that. You know how people are. I'm not a lawyer, but you know how people are. They're going to say that.
Oh, they can say all sorts of things, and I'm prepared to respond to them. I mean, and they can try and spin things and say whatever they want, but I am very clear on what our position is and what your experience has been, and I will correct that in front of the judge to the degree I can. But I don't expect us to get into a lot of back and forth, but I mean, who knows? Again, I think we'll talk, we'll see where we land, and I will report back as soon as that is over.
Yeah, we have to see, can we discuss that? We have to see what the judge says once she sees the violations. I wrote everything down.
Yep.
And everything, because you see I'm upset today.
Yeah.
And Josh Liu, we can't talk to him just yet because the meeting hasn't been set up, and I can't worry about if they got an affidavit from my neighbor saying that I'm holding things up or not. I don't think the judge is going to go for all of that back and forth. And let me see. The medical thing, you done nailed it. You said that I have to confer with my client if they want more information, and apartment's still available. And we talked about the replacement of the sink and all that other stuff. Speaking of that, did you go through it? Because I still can't make heads or tails of it, what I could see of it. And we done decipher that the second room is the bedroom, even though he would you say what fun would that be if he made it easier for us to understand? So we know the first room is the living room, and I'm glad he said something about this hallway and everything that about the mold and. But the biggest thing is the living room, the 12, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean that those things are all clear. There's a couple more that I'm a little confused about. I need to talk to the HPD attorney, so I'm hoping that part of the conversation tomorrow, even if it doesn't happen in front of the judge, because that's not really good use of the judge's time, is for me to connect with the HPD attorney who's handling this case and say, can I call you so we can go over this violation report
and if you do, I would like for you to text me or call me about that because I want to know the rest of it too and everything. I mean, when you get a chance, because I know I'm not the only priority. You got other people. Look, I'm cognizant of it. God bless you and my previous lawyer. He had 62 people on his caseload. So I understand all of that and everything. And then, like I said, I'm not special. It's just that when you have a chance, call because I know you got my back.
Well, and what I'm thinking is that we can do a call. I probably won't have answers on the HPD stuff, but I could tell you what happened in court if you want to talk tomorrow at, I guess, what is it, noon would be when the court date is over. Hold on.
Yes. But when you do, but the only thing I'm saying is when you do get a chance, you could text me briefly the synopsis of what it said, not a whole epic book, but because you don't have time for that. But I'm trying to be funny because I made you upset by crying, so I'm trying to get you to smile. But just text me briefly and say, well, I spoke to the HPD guy. This is the overall summary. Bam, that's it. You know what I mean.
I can do that. But I think what I want to make sure that I say is that I can't do our 11:30 call on Thursdays this week. So what I'm suggesting is that I call you after the court date tomorrow, and that can replace our Thursday call.
All right.
So I can report back on what happened with the judge.
Right.
A little bit.
Right. Okay.
Sound good?
Okay. And so after we talk tomorrow. So we're going to be doing Wednesday of next week as well, since you can't do Thursdays, or no?
I could probably go back to Thursdays. There's a court appearance that I didn't have control over. A judge just scheduled something for Thursday or at our normal call time. But next week we can go back to Thursday.
Okay.
I'll actually put it in right now. Thursday we do 11:30, right?
What's the date that Thursday? I mean, the days are running into each other.
The 17th.
Okay. But I bet you if my life was good, then it would be running in there. I'd be looking forward. Ooh, it's 17th. Okay. All right. I'm trying to smile before we leave because I'm sorry. I'm not a coward, okay? It's just that I mean, this is